Update. Should I, 25 male, tell my friend's 28 female fiancé we were hooking up? They just got engaged and pregnant. Original story. Supposedly, they split up last year during COVID lockdown because he was going to be spending an unspecified amount of time out of state with his family. She told me they broke up because they didn't want to do long distance. And after that, we were hanging out at my place to keep each other company. I've always been attracted to her, so I didn't mind all the time we were spending. Well, one night we smoked a joint and got handsy and flirty. I've wanted that for a long time, so we went to my bed and became intimate. From there on, we acted like rabbits, basically all the time during lockdown. The thing is, a couple months ago, she tells me came back to our state, and that they decided to get back together as a couple, so we needed to end our thing. It sucked, and I was sad because I did like her a lot, but that's how it goes sometimes. Last week, I heard they decided to get engaged, and that he proposed to her when she found out she's pregnant. It was never my intention to ever tell him I was sleeping with her because they were broken up. Also, I'm not really friends with him as we just see each other sometimes. But I'm learning now that they were never broken up, or at least according to him. He told me they were doing a long-distance relationship, and he's happy they managed to stay strong. Just to double-check, I got confirmation that they agreed they wouldn't be open to anyone else, and he thinks she was faithful to him that whole time. Now they are engaged and about to have a baby. It's a lot happening, and I'm not sure if I should tell him she was cheating on him. This could be messing up a future family and all. At the same time, I would want to know. But what if he prefers not to? I don't know. I'm lost. What should I do? Should I tell him? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Are you sure it's not your baby? That poor other guy. You know, she would never tell him. I wouldn't want to marry someone who was cheating on me for months. I would want to know if I were him. Congrats on the kid, I think. If she was humping you like a rabbit, she surely was less active with poor guy number 2. I hope so much for you that the kid isn't yours. That would make things way more complicated. This is going downhill no matter what. What I would do is just stay shut unless they do a DNA test and it's not his, then I would tell. If not, then I would not start drama and ruin any family, even if it's actually fake. But I would tell the daughter at some point when she's past 18. Ruin a happy family? She messed up, and that has consequences. Absolutely, the long-term boyfriend should know what kind of girl he's about to marry. You're going to have to tell him. There will be backlash. There will be hard feelings. There might even be need for restraining orders if things go really sideways. But it has to be done. For no other reason, that is the right thing to do. He thought they were LDR the whole time. She probably knew this, or was under the impression that they were over, and she told you they were no longer a thing. You believed her. You didn't have any reason not to at the time. I'm just stating fact. Lots of things can be said in hindsight, but this 100% is not your fault. When they got back together, the pregnancy was discovered. You can't have him raising a child that might not even be his. That's not fair on him as a human being, let alone a father. Also, get a paternity test to make absolute sure. I get what you mean, and yeah, it's true. A down 40 update. Well, he knows. Told him the day before yesterday. I thought about telling her first, but I didn't want her to spin the story and make it seem like I'm the one who's a liar. I just texted him asking if we could meet up. He was already seeming weird that I'd ask him to meet up because I have never done that before. I still had all the texts we sent each other back then, and obviously he knows her number, so it doesn't seem like I faked them or something. He was pissed, like he wanted to punch me, but when it was all out there, he just said he can't talk right now and walked off. That was it. But she was blowing up my phone that night, asking what I told him because he broke off the engagement. On top of that, he's not replying to her. And I told her all I said was the truth. She came to my place crying about it. First, she was mad, but then she said she's sorry about everything. And she knows she had lied to me too when we were doing our thing. Then I asked her about the baby, but she claims she's not sure. They were already together around the time she got pregnant, but also she knows we were still doing it at the time too. She didn't know how to tell him, and he surprised her with a proposal when he found out about the pregnancy. Obviously now he wants a paternity test, and I told her I need to know too. She asked me what I'm gonna do if the baby's mine, and I said it'll be in its life. All she told me was, okay, good. But now we're seeing where we can get a paternity test done since you guys said it's possible to do it before the baby is born. I'm nervous as hell. Just want to get this done so we know for sure if I'm about to be a father. It's crazy when I think about it. Some of our friends texted me asking if it's true, so word got around already. I haven't heard anything from him, but it's only been a day. Still, at least the whole meeting could have gone worse, and I feel better that it's out there. So thanks for encouraging me to be honest. Oh, by the way, I don't know why this was a thing in the comments. I guess some people were just lacking reading comprehension because for some reason, you were thinking he was my friend and had it in your heads that I was sleeping with a friend's ex. So just clarifying to those that for whatever reason thought I'm a piece of crap for breaking the friend code. Lol. He's not my friend. The girl who may or may not be my baby mama is who I was friends with, not him. He was just a boyfriend of my friend. Wonder if people are still not gonna get it. Lol. Thought it was pretty clear in my original post. Anyways, that's all the update I got for you right now. All there is now is to find out if I'm gonna be a dad. You can get a non-invasive DNA test at 7 weeks. I feel sorry for the boyfriend/fiancé since he will be hurt no matter the outcome. But I'm glad you stepped up and did the right thing. You're a real one. That's what I'm hearing. We're definitely gonna do that. Only if she consents to it. If she decides she doesn't want to, it'll be a court battle or just wait until the baby is born. You don't actually get a say. You did the right thing. I'm sure if you had any idea they were still together, attracted to her or not, you wouldn't have slept with her. I would start making a game plan in case the baby's biologically yours. She can have a paternity test without the baby being born, and it will not harm the baby at all. It's up to you how involved you want to be, but wanting to be involved is going to be the best for the child if it is yours. I would not recommend getting into a relationship with her. Just stay as the child's father. And if it's not yours, well, honestly, that's the best case situation. I would not think her ex would talk to you, especially if the kid is yours, so I wouldn't count on hearing back from him. Definitely not if she was in a relationship. I've never wanted to be that guy who does something that messed up. Yeah, I know, so we're trying to find a place that does that. Like, I'm mentally preparing for it to go either way. I'll be there 100% if it's mine. Not with her, yeah, I agree. I'll just be there for my baby and help her however she needs. Talk to a lawyer ASAP. Get a custody/visitation agreement written up. Also get a child support agreement. While either of these can easily be modified or overturned by a judge, this gives you a recourse and leverage if she wants to try dangling the child in front of you as a bait to get something, or at least if she wants to just say, no, you can't see them. Under no account should you trust her to follow word-of-mouth handshake-only custody agreements. Just don't. She's a proven liar and manipulator. Always get it in writing. Understand that what she says means nothing. Not making that same mistake of believing anything that comes out of her mouth again. My dad knows some good family lawyers. Once I got confirmation that the baby is mine, then I'll be making calls. Next story is titled, My girlfriend admitted after a year that she had a miscarriage, when in reality, she had terminated. Looking at the title, I realize it might confuse some, so here's an edited version. My girlfriend admitted she had termination instead of a miscarriage. My 30 male, girlfriend 28 female, were trying for a baby last year. She got pregnant twice, but would start bleeding for what she said was a miscarriage, and she seemed genuinely heartbroken. Yesterday, she said that she needed to confess something, saying that she hasn't been honest with me and said that both of her miscarriages were actually from her getting termination pill. She said that she wanted to see how I reacted to something like that, and when I comforted her, she really liked the extra attention and did it a second time. She started saying that she was sorry and wanted to try again, but I was extremely pissed that she would do something like this, and told her to pack her bags and get out of my house. I support women getting the procedure, but this was unacceptable. This morning she texted me about 50 times begging me to take her back, and I ignored each call and text from her. When she had lost the pregnancies, it was really upsetting for me, and I went to therapy with her to try and get past the grief. Now that I know she was lying, and I don't think I can trust her anymore after she did what she did. What is the best way to move on from this? Edit. Her sister just texted me saying that now she's threatening to end herself. Now for the top advice. Jesus, there is no moving on from this. She needs serious psychological help. Absolutely do not have a baby with this woman. I saw your Reddit, Opie. Contact the police and let them know she needs a wellness check. She also needs psychological help. Terminating a baby and lying about it as a test, then doing it again because she liked the attention, is just not normal behavior by any means. It really makes you wonder what other weird things she's been doing. Listen, I am as pro-choice as they come, but this is freaking bananagrams. Intentionally getting pregnant in order to secretly terminate and garner sympathy over a fake miscarriage? That is next level. You made the right choice. I don't see how there can ever be any trust after this. She needs some kind of mental health care to get to the root of her issues, and maybe heading back to therapy yourself to process this is a good place to start. It's a pretty serious betrayal that could affect your ability to trust and form a healthy attachment with a future partner down the road. Getting procedures because you're not ready to be a parent is acceptable. Hell, it's even encouraged, since the kid doesn't deserve to be raised in a negative living condition. But getting it for the sake of attention? Behind her significant other's back? And liking the sympathy that came with it? This woman should never have kids again. I never wished that on anyone before, but this is some psychotic crap. Wow, I've heard of mothers making their kids sick for sympathy. I'm guessing this is how some start. It's possible. If your ex is threatening self-harm, let emergency services handle it. Don't get involved further with her. Last story is titled, Girlfriend's sister is saying she's pregnant with my child. Reddit's probably not the best place for this, but I'm 25 male really freaking confused and not sure what to do. Months back, we were at my girlfriend's, 25 female, cousin's house. It was a lot of people we didn't even know. Everyone got drunk. Like super drunk. As in people were jumping into his pool naked drunk. I've only been blackout drunk one other time in my life, but this one was the worst. I literally don't remember anything. My girlfriend had to carry me away because I couldn't even walk on my own. I slept in one of the beds because we were gonna spend the night there, but my girlfriend had to drive one of her friends home. Sometime later, not sure what time it was, but it was super early. I wake up and have the worst hangover of my life. But I'm also naked except for my shirt and socks. The sheets are sticky. All I could remember are snippets here and there of someone on me, but literally no idea who the hell with. I called my girlfriend freaked out, and I remember I was crying because I felt like I cheated on her but don't remember anything of it. She had to stay longer at her friend's because she was throwing up a lot and ended up falling asleep there. We talked about what happened that day, and she definitely thinks I was violated because she saw the state I was in. But the thing was, I had no idea with who. Her cousin had lots of random friends we never met who were there. Eddie says he doesn't remember seeing anyone come to the rooms after my girlfriend took me there to sleep. Now, I'm learning her sister, 22 female, is pregnant. She came to see me in private. She's saying we did it. That she went to the restrooms down the hall from where I was sleeping, and I got flirty with her. And we acted on it. And according to her, she felt guilty for betraying her sister, but she was drunk and wanted to forget about it. We never mentioned the violation thing to her sister because I didn't want anyone to know about it. She told me she's sorry, that she didn't mean for it to happen. But she's pregnant now and feels I had a right to know as a father. I feel sick. My girlfriend doesn't know yet. I don't know how I'm supposed to tell her that her sister was the one that did that. And not only that, but her baby could be mine. Before anyone says to speak to a therapist, I'm already on a wait list for that, so that's covered. But just please help me on what's the best course of action here. How do I tell my girlfriend? Get a paternity test. You were definitely taken advantage of, but that doesn't mean that this is your child. I am for sure. Just don't know why lie about something like that, especially with how it happened. Still, get a test. She was very drunk, as she stated, and could have slept with any number of other people that night, or any night near that night. Don't be on the hook for someone else's child because you don't know why she would lie about it. People are crazy. She's an offender, so she's shown herself to be absolutely crazy. Tell your girlfriend. Tell her the full story to get the police involved. I would tell her the identity of the offender at the end, as she may need some counseling as well after that. You were violated. I'm so sorry. She obviously was not nearly as impaired as you if she remembers everything, so she took advantage of the state you were in. None of this is your fault. However, I do think you need to tell your girlfriend. She's already said she thinks you were taken advantage of, and doesn't think you cheated. If you're worried she'll be angry, I think the only one she will be mad at is, rightfully, her sister. OP. 1. Your girlfriend sounds like a keeper. 2. You should get a lawyer if you can afford one. 3. Don't tell her you believe she took advantage of you until you have talked to a lawyer, because she could easily claim the opposite. Get the lawyer's advice, but I suggest you should get documentation that she had slept with you willingly, and that she remembers you being really drunk. Send her a text saying something like, I really don't remember what happened that night. I was so drunk. So tell me again what happened? Or something like that. Then she can't retract her claim later. 4. But also, I think there's a decent chance she's making it up or that the baby is someone else's, even if she did force you. So if she really is pregnant, you should demand a paternity test. Is she going to keep the baby? She says she is. If you, OP, are drunk passed out on the bed, how are you suddenly up, alert, and flirting with her? She said she went to the restroom down near the room where you were lying in the bed passed out. Did she come to your room or what? Or does she claim you were up, out of bed, out of that room and being flirty with her near, in, or outside the restroom? It's really important to find out where this flirting took place, because it sounds made up. And like she's flipping the script to put the blame on you for initiating the situation, when it may well have been her coming into the room where you were passed out and climbing on top of you. It sounds like she's trying to cover her own butt. Don't let her railroad you. And it's a very good idea to get a lawyer right now before she blabs her story to everyone first. Agreed. Those are all valid points. I'm concerned that the sister might try to flip the story and claim he took advantage of her. OP needs to inform his girlfriend and get the police involved. Update. I-32 female work overnights, but my father-in-law 60s male keeps bad-mouthing me and telling everyone I'm lazy. I'm afraid people are starting to buy it. Original story. I work overnights in a very demanding medical field. My sleep schedule's always been nocturnal, so this feels more natural to me than working days and brings my stress down. My husband is gone 5 days out of the week as a truck driver and my days off are the same days as home, thanks to my seniority, and we are both night owls during this period. My mother-in-law recently passed away, so my father-in-law sold everything and moved to where we were. It has been included in my family events. At Christmas, my brother pulled me aside to let me know that my father-in-law is telling anyone who will listen that I'm lazy because I sleep all day. I work 12 to 24-hour shifts at my job during the days I'm working. The only reason I get my days off to align with my husband is the seniority I have, and even then I often have to work when he's home. I've now noticed that, along with him calling me, I am starting to miss calls around 2 to 3 p.m. from family members who know I'm home and are asking me to do things for them during the day. I'm usually asleep by noon and have to be up for work around 8 or 9 p.m. I've sat these people down to explain that I am an overnight emergency worker and that I need my sleep. My husband sat my father-in-law down and explained to him what I do, how I need my sleep, and that he's being a jerk. But my father-in-law maintains that a real job doesn't have overnights. I don't want to have to cut contact with him because we are the only family he has left. My husband stands behind me and says if I want to cut him out, even just to let him have a timeout, he's game. I also don't know how to address my whole family about this. My mom combats it as much as possible, but his way of thinking is starting to permeate them too. Now for the top advice before reading the update. I work nights, and I just return calls at 2 and 3 a.m. when it's convenient for me. They catch on. Think it's time for Opie to have a bring your child father-in-law to work day. This is exactly what I was thinking. Have him do some clinicals by your side. Let him see that you are indeed working the hours that he is sleeping. I'm not in the medical field, but I'm pretty sure this would be super weird, if it's even allowed. Doubtful. I know if I'm at a hospital and some doctor/nurse was like, do you mind if I bring in my father-in-law? Oh no, he's not medical personnel. He's just a trash talker. I don't want to prove a point to him. Now please take off your pants. I'd be like WTF. Start ringing father-in-law in at 2 or 3 in the morning and ask him why he isn't up yet. Tell him he's lazy for sleeping when you're at work. When it tells you you're being ridiculous, respond accordingly. Mom worked nights when I was a kid. Dad called Mom a few times while he was on lunch, waking her up. So she returned the favor and Dad figured it out immediately. Since Mom and Grandpa were both on nights during their careers, a benefit from them training our family. Also, do not disturb is a fantastic thing on smartphones. Only 7 people can ring me during hours I set. They know not to call unless it's important. I use my phone as an alarm clock so I can't just leave it in another room. I'm happy that your husband is on your side. Don't feel bad for your father-in-law when it doesn't feel bad for you. He needs to move out ASAP. Also, it's not your job to do anyone's errands. Ask these people that when the heck are you supposed to sleep if you work from X to Y? I'm petty, so I would call them in the middle of the night. Surely not everyone in your family is dumb. I wouldn't worry about it. I work from home. The amount of errands I got asked to do because you're not busy was insane, until I put a stop to it. I guarantee father-in-law's telling the family she's just being idle. There are people who will see an opportunity. And now for the update. Hey all. I dealt with my family members at a family gathering over the weekend. I saw my sister, one of my family members who had been texting me, and reminded her that I'm asleep at 3 or 4 p.m. when she texts. If she texts me first thing in the morning, like when she leaves for work at 7, maybe I could do whatever favor she needs before I go to sleep. I told her that I wouldn't be adjusting my schedule to do her favors. She seemed to understand. Over the weekend, my husband and I sat down with my father-in-law one last time to try to get him to understand that I'm a medical professional. I work nights and that my nights are as hard as working a day shift, oftentimes harder. I brought up my mother-in-law and reminded him how she called 911 at 2 a.m. when she had her first heart attack. I told him the person on the other end of that phone had a real job. The EMTs who came to take her to the hospital had real jobs, and the ear nurses and doctors that treated her had real jobs. I told him that yes, I could take a day shift, but I would be unhappy in the end because I'm just not wired to be awake during the day. Today is an exception because I'm on vacation and had a dentist appointment. Well, those who guessed that this was way more about my job were right. After the discussion, he point-blank told me that my chosen hours weren't conducive to having children. When I reminded him that when his son and I got married 10 years ago, we both agreed that we weren't having children. He had some choice words. My husband kicked him out of our house and my family will stop inviting him to family gatherings. It's not the outcome I wanted, but hopefully it'll come around. Edit. To be clear, he did not live with us, but near us. My husband kicked him out of our house that evening. Heart attack. Genius. My husband kicked him out of our house and my family will stop inviting him to family gatherings. Good work. And welcome to r/child-free. As soon as I got married, both sides of the family started incessantly badgering us about kids. Are they offering to babysit and take care of our home? Of course not. I'll have kids when I get tired of having freedom and money. One of my daughters doesn't want to have kids. I see the static she gets sometimes and it pisses me off. What is wrong with people? If someone doesn't want kids, they should not have them. Having kids when you don't want them is the worst thing you can do. I agree. A lot of people shouldn't have kids, and yet so many people legitimately think women's sole purpose in life is to reproduce, and that we will not and cannot be happy if we don't. Thanks for the update. I think you and your husband handled it perfectly. Your job. It was always something more than the job. Nighttime medical shift work is the hardest job in the hospital. He sounds like a massive jerk who needs to keep his nose in his own business. Glad your husband stood up for you. Raised in a household where one parent worked days and the other nights. There's always someone home and always someone to pick up the kid. That's exactly why my parents did it. That's how me and my husband do it. I work days and he works evenings/weekends. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than $800+ per month in childcare, and she gets to be with her dad all day. Happy ending to an awful father-in-law. I'm not defending the dude, and he certainly has no right to treat family this way, but it's possible with the loss of his wife, having thoughts of getting old, and having no grandkids from his son has clouded his thought process. Grieving sucks, and can do weird things to your brain. It might be on his mind, but the words that came out of his mouth towards me when we reminded him we weren't having kids were absolutely unacceptable. He called me a lot of different names, including a racial slur. I'm mixed race, and he has never shown any sort of racism before. I hope he's just clouded and genuinely apologizes. I don't believe he's a bad person. Maybe just hurting. Next story is titled, My father-in-law, 47, has a terminal illness, and he propositioned me, 29 female. Myself and my husband have been together for 11 years and married 7. I wish this wasn't true. My father-in-law has been stepdad since he was 8, and my mother-in-law separated 2 years ago because he has been messaging other women, younger ones for context, like mid to late 20s. It was rough for a while, but everything has been okay, and relationships have been repaired. He is a great dad to my husband, and an amazing granddad to our kid and our extended family. His bio family are amazing people, and we've never been treated as anything other than blood. We're all extremely close, and it's a big family. That's what makes this harder. I've never felt creeped out by him, even though I knew this thing for younger women, but he's always been very respectful to me and treated me like a daughter. I and my husband were obviously extremely shocked and disappointed in him, and it took time to work through my husband and his relationship, but he made a huge effort to repair it and prove himself again. He has just had a diagnosis which gives him a few months. I don't want to go into detail for anonymity reasons. I went to see him before my husband got home from work and while my daughter was still in school to check on him. He gave me all the awful details, and we cried, etc. He told me it's sad he won't see his granddaughter grow up, his son grow older, and all his regrets. Then he told me he needed to tell me that he has always been attracted to me, and if I would agree to have one night with him as his dying wish. He said he isn't going to be able to meet anyone he's been hoping to, and hasn't had action since mother-in-law, and it would mean everything to him. I shut down. I know I should have said or done something, but I felt sick to my stomach, excused myself, and ran the heck out of there. I'm now at home wondering how do I handle this, and when/if/how I tell my husband. He's wondering why I'm not reacting to the bad news, and I've just said I'm still in shock. But obviously I feel disgusted by him and don't ever want to see him again. Do I ruin the only dad he's ever known for him and make the already impossible situation even worse? Lose all of our family? I'm so scared and confused. I've never seen him act like this or treat me this way. His relationship with my mother-in-law isn't the best, and his bio dad has never cared about him. He doesn't see his siblings. The family we have are my father-in-law's and my family, who are great. Anyone know how I deal with this crap show? Now for the advice. Tell your husband right now or this will eat you up. Otherwise, as you seem indifferent to dad's dying, it'll make him think you are some kind of cold, heartless person. It could destroy your marriage. To make it even simpler, someone did something awful to you, and your husband's job is to make you feel better. And again, you can't keep the secret forever. And if it comes out after the old bugger is dead, your husband will always wonder what dad's side of the story was. There are so many downsides to keeping quiet. And remember, you aren't ruining anything. He is. Thank you, you're right. Also, dying is not an excuse to do awful things. If anything, this person does not care at all to ruin yours and his own son's marriage, and then punch out. This isn't something you can really carry with you secretly without there being serious complications. You should tell your husband. As for ruining the relationship, no you didn't. Your father-in-law did that when he made a pass at you. I've carried a similar burden for 40 years. Tell him. I could honestly say so much. Do I ruin the only dad he's ever known for him and make the already impossible situation even worse? Your father-in-law managed that all by himself when he propositioned you. Tell your husband. And be prepared to support him throughout the fallout because I imagine it'll be immense. I'm so sorry you're having to deal with this. Exactly. I know how hard this will be on him. And getting the news this morning. It's going to break him. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to tell someone you love something that is going to change their whole perspective on a relationship they have that means everything. Ah, freaking heck. Is this disease anyway affecting his mental faculties? Bearing that, there isn't any excuse and the former is flimsy to begin with. First, your husband needs to know. Sooner rather than later. And you need the support he can give. Your father-in-law is solely responsible for any damage or fallout this may cause. It isn't. I wish that was it. Then at least it's an explanation of some kind. I'm going to tell him and we can grab some time without our daughter. I'm just scared. Thank you. Now for the last story. I am tired of being a married single mother. I am tired of being a single mother instead of a married mother, as my husband currently acts like my 5th child instead of a capable adult. When we met, he was a lovable and kind man. But now it seems as though he thinks I'm his personal maid, and that all child rearing and household burdens are mine. I've tried talking to him, but nothing comes out of it. It's as if a married energy vampire sucks all the life energy out of me. I work full-time, do all the domestic chores, all the child-related chores, and every time I ask him to do something, he purposely messes it up, or just doesn't do it. Our son's birthday was almost 2 weeks ago, and all I asked him was to pick up his birthday cake and candles. He literally was with me the day I ordered it at the bakery, but yet I still texted him the bakery's address and the name the order was under. He went to the wrong bakery. I decided to argue with the staff that they clearly messed up and ruined his kid's birthday. At some point, he decided to call me to complain of the deserved, horrible treatment he got from staff. I explained he was at the wrong store and to hurry up before the bakery closed. My son was standing next to me, and I could see he was genuinely anxious of not at least getting his birthday cake, since we aren't having a party for him. We aren't having any parties as we are still adhering to strict COVID restrictions. I decided to pick the cake up, since I couldn't trust him to make it on time as it was close to the bakery's closing time, so we could still have a small little party with the rest of the household. But I realized that this isn't the first or 100th time this man has messed things up. I'm always the one the kids turn to. The one who is expected to know where everything is, when it should be done. I'm the one to fix it, or to worry about whatever is wrong. He just gets to smile, laugh with the kids, and I'm left with all the worries. I was so angry that he got to play with kids, while I was stuck running around cleaning, cooking, and making all the plans. He just gets to take credit. I can't seem to get over it, and I don't want to get over it. I feel used, neglected, and over-freaking worked. I feel alone. Every other day he talks about how hard he works, and yet it doesn't even measure up to half of what I do. He wakes up in the morning and only worries about getting himself dressed, whether he should go to the gym or what he's having for breakfast. I wake up to getting the kids showered, clothed, then I get them their breakfast and lunches packed. The only thing he does regularly is drop the kids off 2, or if I'm lucky, 3 times a week. While I am left with cleaning the house and then getting myself ready, and even checking in on his elderly parents while I drive to work. And when I'm back from work, he's sitting there waiting for me to make dinner, to help the children with their homework, then clean up, do the laundry, and put the kids to bed. I am so freaking tired. Gun to his head, he wouldn't know the names of the kids' teachers, their best friends, their friends' parents, the doctors, dentists, their tutors or babysitters' phone numbers, his parents' doctors, their medicine, or their caregiver's phone number/working hours. He gets to just exist and without worry, without exhaustion, and I'm so tired of complaining. So tired of crying. So tired. I don't know why I wrote all of this. Maybe I wanted to vent into the vastness of the internet. Maybe I wanted advice. Maybe I am just tired of being miserable on my own. Please Google weaponized incompetence if you're not already familiar. This is exactly what your husband is doing. He can definitely do basic chores and remember basic things, but he knows he can act like an idiot and you'll pick up the slack for him. In my experience, people like this hardly change. What is keeping you in this marriage? It's not like he suddenly became a crappy partner. It was slow, gradual, and before I knew it, it was my job to manage and do everything for our family. All bad things, forgetting to remind kids of their activities, not doing XYZ for the kids, not real bad things, are my fault. And all good things are due to our efforts, even though it was me who made it happen. He gets to be the relaxed parent while I'm forced to be the one that gives the kids a routine and structure. So of course, I'm the bad guy for making the kids go to bed, brush their teeth, etc. I didn't just wake up one day to be in this position. It took a lot of time. I spent the majority of my childhood in foster care, without family and then to be abused by the people who adopted me. I had always hoped and promised myself I would offer my kids everything a child deserved to have. And one of those things is that they are to be part of the 2 people that created them. To know them, to be loved and cared by them. My reluctance to have a failed marriage since he doesn't physically or financially abuse me. Being mistreated and abandoned as a child can oftentimes leave you with a very low bar. To give my children the family unit I never had. But at this point, I don't even think they'd mind us separating. He loves his children even though he doesn't raise them. And in many ways, I do love him since he was the first man I got to be safe with. But honestly, love is not enough to sustain a marriage, a family, or a household. I'm fairly certain that divorce is on the table, and I believe that I'm at the stage where I'm mentally preparing myself before I act.
Update.
Hospitalized mother who took my cheating wife's side over mine now wants to see me. Original story. So last night, my wife of 7 years decided to have a chill-out night. After dinner, she went to the den and was watching her programs, while I flitted between watching the Spur football game and doing some odds and ends that I had planned. Next thing I know, she's got the wine out and has had 2 bottles of the stuff. At around midnight, I went to check on her and seen she was out cold on the couch. So I went to scoop her up when her iWatch thing buzzed and a message popped up on the screen. It said something along the lines of, "Haha, I can't do that. I hope you would knock the 7 shades of crap out of me." I wondered what the hell that was all about. So I pressed on it, and it was a conversation between my wife and a friend of mine. Now, I wouldn't say this guy's a close friend of mine, but he's someone I've played 5-a-sides with for years, drank with, and have known since we were teenagers. We used to call him Jacket Holder because when we got into scraps as teens, he'd always be the guy holding the jackets while everyone else went for it. Right, so as I said, I pushed on a conversation while this thing is still attached to her wrist and scroll up to the top. And as far as I can tell, it's him that contacts her first, unless she has deleted. There's lots of flirting and wink-winking going on, but nothing that you could outright say was cheating. Then I get to last night, and when she's drunk, she starts openly begging him for action. I couldn't believe my freaking eyes. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact words, but she was saying stuff like how much she had always wanted him, how no one would ever find out if he did want to do something. And the last one that freaking killed me? That she was great at keeping secrets. I tried to scroll on her watch but couldn't find any other messages, and I don't know her phone passcode. I put her in her bed and just sat in the kitchen in shock until I fell asleep. Then got up for work about 5:30. When I went to get in my work van, I just slumped down on the wheel and realized I couldn't face it. So I went back in the house, grabbed a half-drunk bottle of vodka, filled to the top with Coke, and went on a way down the railway line. We live beside a lot of woodland, and a disused railway line that goes for miles, and I've walked about half the length of it. I'm sitting under a railway bridge like a freaking troll right now, just seething at the whole thing. You'd probably think there's a fire going from about a mile away due to the steam coming out of my ears. So what do? I don't want to speak to her. I can't even bear to look at her after reading that crap. It was like a dagger through my heart. I just feel like every morsel of love I had for her has evaporated into thin air after reading her begging like that. Freaking yuck. I honestly want to ghost her, man. If I could, I would never speak to her again. The whole "I'm great at keeping secrets" was the thing that really got me though. Like, who even are you? It reeks, but it's a case of how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go. I don't care if I'm being honest. I'm just done. I've never felt so betrayed and disgusted in all my life. The thing is, I've invested so much in her not just as a partner, but as a person. I loved her so much, and thought her personality, and by extension my personality, reflected that of good people. To realize she's a backstabbing snake makes me feel like a snake. I feel like a worse person than I was yesterday. The only way I can describe it is for someone you looked up to, took advice and life lessons from, to suddenly find out they were a pedo or violator, or just a downright creep. Your entire perception of yourself and who you are would be shattered, because you've took on board what they've said and invested time to a creep. God, I'm rambling nonsense. I apologize. I'm lucky that our house is owned by my parents, who 6 years ago moved to a retirement village and we moved in. The house will be bequeathed to me when they die, but I don't and hopefully won't own it for a long time. They couldn't be bothered with the upkeep and all the problems, etc., and wanted to see out their final days in peace, so when we do divorce, my soon-to-be ex won't be getting her hands on it. So what do I do then? I'm honestly thinking of just not saying a word and throwing her right out. Also, while walking here, it went through my mind to get my mate who's a locksmith to quietly change the locks today. I could feed her any old garbage about something from the doors being broken. She won't care what's going on anyways, as long as I'm about. Then after it's done, lock the front door and tell her to come out and look at something out the back. When she comes out, just run back in and lock the door behind me. That sounds childish as hell, doesn't it? Ugh. Seriously though, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm staring at a bottle right now and my life feels like it has been ripped apart at the seams. As for that prick so-called friend of mine, there's no doubt he was up to something here. There's also no doubt I wouldn't have caught wind of this at all, so I'll be seeing him very soon. Never mind holding jackets. he'll be holding his face. First update, October 28, 2020. Thank you everyone who reached out to me after my first post. It was really appreciated. So yesterday, after I had written the post and was in a complete mess, 2 dog walkers came over to check on me as I was obviously concerning them. I told them everything. They listened. And the first thing one of them said to me was, "Son, the worst thing you can do right now is drink. It'll cause carnage." I have to thank her for that because I was on the highway to hell at that point. I threw the vodka away, got in touch with a friend, and decided I could come to his for a while to calm down. He was at work but told me where the spare key was. We live in a small town of around 15,000 people and it wasn't too far away. So once I got there, I sat on his couch, just trying to calm down. Throughout the morning, I was getting multiple texts and phone calls from my wife asking where I was and what the hell was up, as my work van was still sitting in the driveway and I was nowhere to be seen. I texted her back telling her that there was a problem with the engine. So I got a lift into work, which she seemed to buy, as she just texted back saying okay. When my friend got back from his work at about 5 o'clock, I told him everything that had happened and asked him his opinion. I also told him not to tell anyone about jacket holder, as that might then get back to my wife, which I didn't want at this point. I would deal with him later. By that I mean I'll expose what a little rat he is. Knocking crap out of him doesn't help me at all as of now. As an aside to the people saying he'd done nothing wrong, he messaged my wife first. He was being extremely flirty. What the hell is he even playing at messaging my wife for in the first place? He only knows her in passing, from afar. Look, I've got no problem with 2 adults conversing with each other, but they hardly knew each other, and it was flirty from the start, as far as I could tell. I think they've seen each other while out and about, and it's gotten flirty then. So my friend convinced me to try and keep a low profile, and see what I could dig up, but at the same time speak to a lawyer and get the ball rolling in terms of finding out my options, which I have done today. He took me home about 6 o'clock and I was honestly dead on my feet by that point. I think the adrenaline pumping the entire day then suddenly stopping knocks it right out of you, so I was extremely tired when I got home. The second I walked through the door, I knew something was up, as my wife was on me right away asking me all sorts of questions about work. I asked her why does she even care, and she said that I left my big flask in my lunch bag in the front passenger side seat, and something's been up today. She could feel it. I was about to lie, but I was just too tired. I couldn't be bothered putting any sort of charade up. So I said, yeah, there is something up. That when I was putting her drunken butt to bed last night, a message came up on her iWatch, which I read, and all the other ones. That she was a freaking disgusting cheat that I wanted nothing more to do with. Her demeanor went from an arms-crossed person in power to scared little girl within about a second. Good at keeping secrets, eh? Begging that little rat for action, eh? Yep, read it all. She started sobbing and I just walked away and upstairs into the shower. When I got out, she was sitting on the top stair crying still, and the excuses started right away. How she was drunk, vulnerable, had never done anything like that before, how he had messaged her first and it didn't mean anything, and that she was never going to go through with it. Pretty much everything that everyone on here was saying she would say, like she had a playbook out. The only thing she didn't do was try and blame me. She probably knew I would have thrown her right out the door if she had tried that crap. I told her that I wanted a divorce and her out of the house within a month. I also told her that she was moving into the spare room. I've been pretty much ignoring her ever since, just scowling at her and shaking my head when she starts waffling nonsense as I don't want to hear it. She slept in the spare room last night, and I haven't spoken to or texted with her at all today. If I'm lucky, maybe she'll be gone when I get back from work, but my luck's not that good, I suppose. In getting her out, though, I was telling my parents what was happening today, and my mother was adamant I wasn't throwing her out onto the streets. Her and my mother are close, and always have been. Would have been together 11 years in December. My mother was saying she made a mistake, and that we should sort it out like adults. That we've been through too much together, and that she didn't actually do anything. It was just words. She completely took her side over mine. Couldn't believe it. Could this mess me here? Like, do I have no right to ask her to leave if my mother is against it? It's literally gonna be my house when my parents pass and I did nothing wrong. So I'm not leaving. It's probably gonna turn into War of the Roses Part 2. I managed to get myself an appointment with a divorce lawyer for next week, so I'll be going to that to discuss my options. Until then, I'm just gonna ignore my soon-to-be ex-wife, I guess. I know she's probably not gonna admit anything else now. I'll never know if she was a really good liar, or she was just talking crap to him to get him on side with her for an affair. Anyways, sorry about the delayed update. Just got the chance to write it now as I'm finishing work. Well, back to the funhouse, I guess. Second update, December 2, 2020. Monday, 16th November. Hi. I thought I'd give an update since a lot of people have been personally messaging me asking for one. It's now been 20 days since I found out my wife was trying to cheat on me with my friend. The situation has become hellish. I gave her a month to get out, and she's been sleeping in a spare room. But it's clear now she doesn't have any intention of going away after she got in the ear of my mother. She doesn't have anywhere to go at any rate, but that's not my problem. I've seen my divorce lawyer multiple times, and I'm now in the process of drawing up a divorce petition and having my wife served divorce papers. I've also opened my own bank account and taken 50% of the balance from our shared account. The atmosphere around the house has been weird to say the least. The living room has turned into a no man's land where no one frequents, as we both spend a majority of our times in our rooms. I've also intentionally been working late a lot, so I don't have to interact with her much. I had been completely ignoring her, but after reading about the 180, I've started implementing that and been civil, if a little cold towards her. I'm so glad I did this, as I was beginning to feel like a monster refusing to acknowledge her existence. It was not the right way to behave, and I ended up feeling like the one who had wronged her, rather than the other way around. The only time I broke from the 180 was when I walked into the bathroom last week and she was sitting on the floor by the bath crying. I helped her up and instinctively gave her a hug, though it was more of a there type hug than one with much love attached to it. The sad thing is that I'm so suspicious of her now that I wouldn't put it past her to be waiting on me coming in so she could put on a performance. The thing is, that probably isn't even true. But this is the sort of crap that's going through my head in this environment. It's just toxic. She's been crowing about how she'll do anything and everything to save this marriage. Anything to prove to me that it was just a silly mistake. So I brought up a lie detector test. I don't plan on ever getting one done. Wouldn't even know where to start. I just wanted to gauge her reaction. She was all for it. Well, until a few hours later when she came to me, tablet in hand, going on about how inaccurate they are, and that anxiety and nervousness can throw up false readings. And with her and her anxiety disorder and all. I just laughed. Wasn't even a small chuckle either. It started as a bit of a cackle and ended in a childish giggle. It appears she would do everything to save this marriage. Well, everything except take a lie detector test, that is. It doesn't even matter anyway. I meant what I said in my original post. Every morsel of love I had for her dissipated into the atmosphere after I heard her say those horrible things. I don't see her as my true love anymore. The person I could tell anything to and would trust with my life. I just see trash. Trash that needs taken out before it stinks the place up. Jacket holder has been the talk of the town since I exposed him to our friend group a few weeks back. It's safe to say he has no friends left among us. It has been completely ostracized. I tried phoning him a few times, but he refused to answer, then blocked my number. Screw that little rat. I hope it was worth it. I've spoken to my mother multiple times about this, and during a heated argument asked her why she was taking my wife's side. Was there something she wasn't telling me here? What was she expecting? Us to live like roommates? Go on like nothing happened? It's ridiculous. She said she has always seen my wife as the daughter she never had but always wanted. My mother had a stillborn daughter before I was born, and it has haunted her. So she latched onto my wife and has done since we got together. As I said previously, they have a close bond. The fact my wife doesn't have any family and only a few friends who have their own busy lives and families means if I throw her out, she would be all alone. And my mom thinks that's unacceptable, especially during a pandemic. She tried to get me to come to a compromise, saying that in 3 or 4 months we can look at it again and see where we are mentally, and is pushing me to try couples counseling before I throw in the towel. I'm not doing that. The thought of being in the same house as my wife over Christmas makes me feel ill. She'll want to do it right as she does every year, and it'll be a complete crap show. My dad, God love him, has never been much of a talker. Never up nor down, just always there. He's a quiet, proud but timid man, and my mother's word has always been the one that matters in our house. People on here have been telling me that I'm selfish and spoiled because it's not my house and I have no right to make demands. But it's now a case of my wife or me for my parents. If worst comes to worst, Then I'm ready to walk out the door and never come back. Screw this house. I have to be able to look at myself in the mirror with some semblance of self-respect, and someone has to keep their word in this debacle. If I do leave, my friend has said I can stay with him for a few weeks or so till I get myself sorted. If I do walk out that door though, I'm done with my parents. I'll never speak to them again in my life. They'll probably see it as me giving up on them, me walking away without trying to at least have a go at fixing things first. I see it as them choosing someone who broke my heart over me. Like, what will be the logistics of this once I'm gone? Just her staying there herself, my mother and father looking after a backstabber while their flesh and blood goes off alone? A little more info on the house. My parents let us move in a year after our wedding. It was a parents' belated wedding gift, although that was just the chatter from them at the time. They were always planning on moving out and moving us in. I've spent tens of thousands on it over the years, but that's neither here nor there. I have fantasies of leaving this all behind, going somewhere new and starting again, but I don't have anywhere else to go. I've lived in this town my entire life. It's all I know. Am I being too harsh here? I'm literally ready to slingshot my parents right out of my life, but I feel so torn. Why am I the one who had to lose everything and everyone? I've tried to be good, but I always thought you make your own luck, and that good things happen to good people. Maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. Maybe I deserve all I freaking get. Wednesday, December 2nd. Well, since this morning, I no longer call that house home. I see on a calendar that my wife had a hospital appointment with her ophthalmologist, so knowing she would be gone for a few hours, I took that as an opportunity to get my stuff together and move out, which I have. After getting my things moved and sorted, I just put the house keys on the kitchen table, along with the divorce papers I received from the divorce lawyer last week, and was on my way. I've blocked both my wife and mother's numbers, and any communication I have with my wife going forward will be done through my lawyer. In terms of my living situation, I'm staying with a friend for a week or two, but hopefully I should be in my own rented place before Christmas. I haven't spoken to my parents in a few weeks. Last time we spoke was via text, and I tried to tell my mother in explicit detail the things my wife was saying during her text to jacket holder. Why it hurt me so much, and why I didn't think it was her first time doing it with the whole "I'm good at keeping secrets" comment, and thus could never trust her again. My mother texted back saying she couldn't speak to me when I was like this, and she would let me cool off. She tried to phone me a few days ago, and I just blanked her call. It has said a bit further up since today I have blocked her number. I feel so let down by my parents, and at this point, it almost feels worse than the original betrayal for my wife. The way I'm feeling right now, I don't think I'll ever speak to them again. I think in times of strife, you look to your family to be strong for you, to be a rock and give you, the wronged one, support. My parents have been weak. They've made me feel like the one in the wrong, like I'm overreacting, and it's me that's ripping this family apart. Well, it's not. I didn't ask them to move mountains for me, just move my cheating wife out of the house, and they made their choice. My father also had a choice to put his foot down for once in his life and stand up for me, but didn't. You make your choices and you live with them, I guess. Reading some of the comments on here from my previous posts, people have been saying things like, I threw in the towel so easily. I was looking for a way out and didn't love my wife because I didn't try hard enough to save things. But that's not true. I loved my wife more than anyone on this earth, and I was broken when I discovered what she was doing. I think we all have boundaries, and once those boundaries have been crossed, things change irrevocably. When I read those horrible texts, something changed inside of me. I fell out of love with her, like being snapped out of a spell in the movies. Anything tried after that is just delaying the inevitable. I have to say that I'm interested in the whole dynamic of their relationship now that I'm gone. Like, are my parents gonna continue supporting her knowing that it has finished their relationship with their son? As for me, I'd love to travel. My wife hated flying, so most of our holidays had been to southern England, the likes of Newquay and Torquay and Cornwall and Devon, so it would be great to travel abroad again. The last time I was abroad was when I was 20 for a mate's holiday in Greece, so 13 years ago. I'd love to see a bit of America, so once this pandemic comes down, I've definitely got my sights on the States. Well, that's about it for me, I guess. This'll be my last post as I don't want to outstay my welcome, and I don't think there's much more to say at any rate. If you want to see how I'm doing down the line, shoot me a DM and I'll try to keep you in the loop. Thanks for reading. Third update, May 26, 2021. It's been over 7 months since I first posted on Reddit, and I honestly thought that was it for me as I didn't need any more advice. I had made my decisions and done what I said I would, but I got a phone call this morning that has dragged me back into the mire. I have moved 15 miles away, changed my phone number, and I'm still in the process of divorcing my wife. She has completely ignored all the requests from my divorce lawyer to cooperate, which has hindered things. We're now in the process of putting in an application for deemed service, so she will be served officially by the courts. And if she continues to ignore, then I can proceed with the divorce without her input. Well, this morning while at work, I got a phone call from my friend telling me that my dad was trying to get in touch as my mother's not well, and would it be okay if he gave him my number. I said okay, and my dad phoned to tell me my mom is in the hospital. She's stable, but not great. Obviously, I was shocked, as I've not heard my dad's voice for so long. It was also the most emotional I've ever heard him. He told me my mom really wants to see me, so would I meet him at the hospital tonight and go in and see her with him? I said okay, and I've arranged to meet him outside the hospital. I ended up going home from work as I couldn't concentrate, and I'm climbing the walls here wondering if I made the right decision, wondering if I'm about to get dragged back into this crap show that I walked away from. I've never felt so nervous in my life, and the lack of control I have over the situation has sent my mind spiraling in lots of different directions. I feel like I'm walking into a burning building blindfolded, with no idea where the exits are. Why does she want to speak to me now? Has she had a change of heart? Unless she's also had a personality transplant while in there, I find that unlikely. Will my wife be there? I have no interest in ever seeing her again. I'm still angry about what transpired with them, and the way they took my cheating wife's side over mine. I've been going back and forth in my head about going at all, but I will go. I was also thinking about maybe seeing if she wanted to speak over the phone instead, but not sure if she would do that or even if she's well enough. I feel like the bad guy here, and that I might have caused this from walking away. How would you handle this? Any advice would be appreciated. Fourth update, May 29, 2021. So I ended up going to the hospital on Wednesday night after much toing and froing. I was genuinely about to back out the last minute as I felt my bottle crashing. But I needed some closure, and knew that I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't go and something happened. When I drove into the hospital car park, I had this surreal feeling of extreme paranoia and was half expecting my wife to jump out from behind a bush or something. I met my dad at the entrance, and it was pretty awkward as he tried to hug me and I said no. I then said if my wife is here in any way, shape or form, then I am about turning it out the door. He assured me she wasn't, and we made our way to the ward where Mom was. When I see my mother, I got the fright of my life as she looked like she had been in the wars. Never have I seen her look so frail. She's got an extreme black eye, also a lot of bruising and purple/yellowness down one side of her face. She took a serious fall, broke 2 ribs, shattered her elbow and banged one side of her head/face on the ground. So elbow, ribs, then head in that order. She looked zombified, but perked up when she seen me. She told me how much she's missed me, and that she wasn't sure she'd ever see me again. I told her if she had really wanted to get a hold of me, she could have done. We spoke for a bit about what exactly had happened, and how she was down for a few hours before my dad found her. Also that she was determined to get back to normal and mend bridges with me. I brought up my wife, and that I had been pushing for a divorce, but she was either ignoring the letters or wasn't getting them. So I asked if she's still in the house. Mom admitted she was, and Dad started to look uncomfortable. I just looked away in disgust. Mom started saying how lost my wife is without me, and that she's not in a good way. I knew then that nothing will change. She's not had an epiphany or seeing things from a new perspective. She just wants the status quo back. She said that the house is my home and always will be, but I told her I don't want it. It means nothing to me anymore, and all it holds is a lot of bad memories. I stayed for under an hour all in all, and when I left, I said if I want to get in contact I will, but don't be waiting over the phone for me to call as you might be waiting for a while. When Dad walked me out, he asked if I would keep in touch with him, and I said I would. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. Time will tell. When I got home, my emotions were a bit all over the place, from sadness to anger, but I'm glad I went. Couldn't help think about my wife as well, and what she once meant to me. It'll never not hurt. When I think about everything that's happened in the last 7 months, it honestly doesn't feel real. The speed at which everything fell apart was just spellbinding. I know life comes at you fast, especially when you're not paying attention, and I wasn't paying attention. It was just sheer luck I found out about her trying to cheat on me. Cosmic coincidence, nothing more. I never seen the signs or put everything together. I just saw something on her watch and it tore my freaking life apart. I know now that it wasn't the only time. I know it in my heart. I see what she is and feel no love for her, only contempt. I feel she stole the best years of my life. When I think about all the good times, they're just soured. It feels like someone else's life, not mine. My friend was saying I should see a therapist or something to try and let everything out, or else this will fundamentally change who I am and the way I build relationships going forward. That's something I'm going to do, I think, as I do feel a bit broken inside. The last 6+ months have been the worst of my life, but I'd rather they happen than being kept in the dark. I'm just sad that it happened the way it did, but you can't choose the way someone screws you over, I suppose. You just have to learn from it. I remember reading about loyalty being the most undervalued character trait, and I see that now. Probably because you don't really know if someone is truly loyal to you until, well, they're not. It's not something you deal with every day, but now more than ever, I know how important a trait it is. Now for the final update, July 2021. Firstly, I'm now in the home straight in terms of divorce from my wife. She has signed the divorce papers, and now all that's left are the formalities. She sent me a message via my dad where she said she's sorry for not letting me move on, that she thought she could save things, but now she knows she can't, and she has to move on for her own well-being. I thank her for seeing sense. She doesn't want anything in the divorce, and said she's going to move out the house when she can get on her feet, which I'm okay with. In terms of my mother, I haven't spoken to her yet, but my dad said she's doing a lot better after getting out of hospital and getting some normality back. I don't know how things will pan out with them, but I've said that if the house is going to be mine, then I want them to put it into my name now, to give me some security, then we can start trying to build bridges. We'll see how that goes. My biggest battle ahead is in my head, and trying to get over everything that's happened. The brain is a wonderful yet frightening thing. To give an example, I can still taste the truffles I scoffed, then threw up, at my grand's house when I was like 5. I've never ate truffles again, but I can still taste those freaking things 30 years later when I think about it. What I'm getting at is, I don't want to harbor thoughts, feelings, and opinions about everything that's happened 30 years down the road. I don't want to be one of those older people who's had everything good knocked out of them by the pain of life. You often hear about those people, how they used to be good, kind, or funny, but somewhere along the line they've had experiences that have forever changed them, turned them into a person they never wanted to be, and all that's left is pain. I don't want to be that person. I have to let this pain go before it consumes me. I have started therapy and spoken to a psychiatrist both over the phone and in person, and it has helped me a lot to speak candidly about everything, if only for a little while. My psychiatrist also said something to me that really struck a chord. When I was moaning about how my best years were behind me, she said, "Your best years are the years you've got left." What I think she meant is that past is gone. It doesn't exist, except in your mind. But the here and now does, and you can choose to make the most out of it, or live in a past that isn't real to anyone but you. It's definitely a phrase I'm going to try and remember when I feel down. I said in one of my previous posts that I wanted to travel, and that is finally happening. My friend has committed to come with me, and we've booked a flight to New York at the beginning of October for a week. Really looking forward to it. Always wanted to see New York when the leaves change. Reminds me of that movie You've Got Mail. I want this to be just the beginning of my adventures in terms of traveling. I want my latter 30s to be littered with memories from escapades I've had abroad. Well, that's the plan anyway. All I know is that for the first time in what seems like a long time, I'm waking up with hope in my heart and a spring in my step. If that's not progress, then I don't know what is.